Lori, nice to see you. Tom, good to see you. The first item on our agenda is a development update from Mike Glidden. So Mike, we'll turn it over to you. Did everybody get the packet, by the way? The presentation is in the packet itself. Okay. Yep. So we just had a quick conversation as we go through each opportunity, if you will, update. If you got questions about that specific situation, please, chime in and ask the question then, as opposed to holding all your questions to the end. And we'll just go along. And Mike, we'll turn it over to you and let you provide us with the updates.
You're muted, Mike.
I'm so sorry. Could you have, I have two Mike Gliddens. One's my computer. Could you make that a co-host too, so I can screen share?
Got it. 1 second, sorry. Should be all set.
Okay, I'll try. Let me try something. Okay. So let me just back one slide up. So we're going to go through all of the open projects in town, a few that are approved that are looking to start. I'm going to hit on a few preliminary, and then at the end, I know like my last update back in June, I kind of gave you a shot of where we stand for permits and was there any impact related to COVID. And I got some interesting figures that we can go over later. As Bob said, if any point of the presentation, someone has a question about one of these projects that we discuss or anything, just please interrupt me. And I would like to have this as like kind of a discussion rather than just a presentation.
Great, thanks.
So the first one is the ridge at Talcott Mountain. So far, 216 out of the 299 residential units have been permitted. Certificate of occupancies have been issued for 144 out of them. We've had a few discussions about the commercial space that's out front. However, yet to have a lease signed with a tenant to potentially fill that spot. SL Simsbury has contacted staff, and this is very, very preliminary, on potential plans of the southern campus. So they still have interest in the project as a whole. And as I pointed out earlier, with the 216 that have been permitted out of the 299, they're still proceeding with this project. And like I said, 144 have been occupied. Obviously, its assisted living has been operational, up and running for a while now. If anyone has questions about the occupancy there, I have that figure.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that.
So it's 40% is the occupancy rate of that facility right now.
Okay.
And that figure is from the health district. Courtesy of COVID, the health district has to know who's in these facilities. So that's a live figure that you can use if anyone were to ask you, like, what's the occupancy of that assisted living facility?
Okay. Do you have a sense from them on? I mean, I got to believe they're not happy with the 40%, right? I mean, they were expecting a lot more. Is there any way of knowing how much COVID has impacted this, or they just having a hard time filling the units?
That's a good question. I have not spoken to representatives over at Anthology regarding this. This is just, like I said, this number I got from the health district as their occupancy. I know that they're marketing this facility and the Farmington facility hard. They're trying to attract more people to move there. but I don't know if COVID has anything to do with their occupancy numbers.
Okay.
And Bob,
Has-
sorry, just to add really quickly, I'll be meeting with them next week about that topic exactly. So I'll follow up with this group and Bob, with you specifically, to let you know what feedback I get from them.
Great. Thank you, Morgan.
Mhm.
And
Mike and Bob, just to chime in, as far as what we've heard for real estate in town, there are people that are holding off moving for that exact reason because of COVID. So there
Okay.
could be some impact for that.
okay. And there'll be a follow-up question when we get to Mclean, but I'll hold off for that one. And Mike, of the 299 residential unit, does that include all of the townhomes they're expected to build around the rim, or is that just the apartments they've got built up in the center right now?
So it includes some of the townhouses have been permitted.
Okay.
So there's some foundations, there's some apartments that are under construction, but they have permits in hand.
But
So-
ultimately, they're looking to get 299 residents in there.
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, there's 299 residential units.
Residential units, yes. Thank you
Yeah.
for clarification. Yes. Okay.
And one thing maybe to point out is that where my arrow is right now, that building there is a building that it was changed. It was supposed to be townhouses. It was 4 townhouses that they combined to one apartment building, and that is primarily 1-bedroom units.
Okay.
They made that change kind of midstream based on their market research and said, one thing we're hearing from a lot of potential renters is, I'm not looking for a 2 or a 3-bedroom apartment. I'm looking for a 1-bedroom apartment. Do you have any of these? So they actually made a change in their plan. That's why, if you recall, the previous numbers that were shared were a different total for the entire residential district. It was 282, I believe, was the original approval. But they went back to the zoning commission and modified that to build just that one apartment building, which is primarily 1-bedroom apartments.
And do you have a sense from them? Are they on target with their expectations, or do they feel like they're behind, or are they pleased?
So they've been very positive and pleased to deal with us. They've been very receptive of the town in our meetings. Occupancy wise, I know that they've been similar to Anthology. They've been really trying to push marketing and try to get people into some of the units that are there. Okay. I don't have current occupancy numbers for the 144 that have been issued certificate of occupancies. They were a little slow from the start over there compared to the other developments. I will say that we did notice a difference where, if we go to compare it to Highcroft, we were literally COing floors as people were moving in.
Yeah.
I'm not getting that sense of urgency as in this stage of the project. If you asked me about a year or so earlier, I would say, they were demanding the first couple buildings because they had people moving in and they were on short timetables. We're not getting that same sense of urgency when we're getting the request for certificate of occupancies that we were previously.
Okay, thanks.
So the next project, Mclean's Independent Living. For those who aren't familiar with this is a proposed independent living facility that will be connected to Burkhardt with some community space. It's about 54 apartments that are going to be on the 2nd and 3rd stories. It's a large building. This one, and here's some kind of architectural renderings that were presented to the zoning commission. This one, however, was delayed by COVID. This was supposed to start this past April, but the contractor didn't mobilize until late July, August, because when they were initially having their pre-construction meetings, picking a target date, the Mclean campus was closed to visitors initially in the early stages of the pandemic, as people may recall. So that kind of tripped up their schedule. So they're behind, and really it's because of COVID. No other reason than that. As we speak, I mean, it's a large building that's going in, so there's a lot of utility work that they are working as we speak. Sewer, water, gas connections. They're working on the foundation. It's a large foundation, and involved some kind of reworking and realignment with the golf course, which eventually Hot Meadow Country will be taking on that portion of the project too. So.
And what is the new end date targeted for, you know?
We were going to have a status update in the spring to see where we are. Okay. Just so, because right now, as we're starting to get into a framing, once they start framing this building and we're getting into the more complicated inspections, we're going to handle it similar to what we did with the anthology project, where we were really picking a day during the week, and one of the building officials was there for up to an hour doing one entire floor of one discipline. So we're trying to coordinate with the contractor over Mclean to prevent kind of like a delay when they call for inspections. This is the kind of project, unfortunately for Henry and Dwight, occupies a lot of their time during the day when they're out doing inspections. Does anyone have any questions on Mclean's? So the next one, this is Albany Turnpike. It's just west of the Hoffman dealership as you're going into Canton off Route 44. The Zoning Commission approved a construction of a portion of the project. A majority of this project is in Canton. That the picture in the lower right-hand corner is a copy of it's a portion of the site plan. That red line represents the town line. Everything towards the bottom of this slide is Canton. Everything to the top of the slide is Simsbury. So for total, for the electric car dealership, what it boils down to is the service area is in Simsbury. The rest of the work that's associated with this project is in Canton. And they're currently, so they have their permits in hand from Simsbury. They're in the middle of a public hearing process with the town of Canton right now, which, you know, you could follow along through the town of Canton's website. We also will be posting some of the engineering documents, the new documents that we're receiving, just to make sure that we could share some of the information that's out there, because there's this project has, you know, drawn a lot of public interest, especially in Canton. And as a result, there's been some further engineering and environmental studies that have been done regarding the potential impact of this development.
There was a article on this particular project in the Current last week, and the article was talking about the concerns that the town of Canton has about this. And it sounds like one could deduct in reading the article they weren't really excited about the project. So is there a sense of, you know, will they be able to work through these? You think, you know, they just think this project will go? Do you think still got a long ways to go? What's your sense?
So I can say
it was very contentious. And the locals, people there were very, very opposed to it.
Yeah, I could say that, you know, the town of Canton engaged a third-party review of this application. There's been several. There's a hydraulics report, a third-party engineering report. There's a lot of professionals that are looking at this plan and looking specifically, are there measurable impacts from the development? You know, because it's a public hearing process, and also it's not my commission. It opens, you know, it kind of speaks to when you're going through a public hearing process, there's a level of discretion that the commission has under state statute. So they can look at other things that otherwise, you know, the difference being in Simsbury, this was a site plan approval, meaning administrative approval, you demonstrate compliance to the zoning regulations. By law, it's an automatic approval. It's a little different, and with the amount of public scrutiny that this project is receiving, you know, it can go either way. It's really going to be dependent on the level of professional expertise and opinions that are provided to the commission and whether they agree with one expert versus the other.
Okay.
I think the concerns were there's a polluted site nearby and the disturbance, because they're going to want to do some blasting. There was a concern that there'd be contaminated groundwater by disturbing the soils up on the hill there, would transfer all the way down to this polluted site. So I think they had like 135 people from the town of Canton log in that night to express their concerns. I'm not sure. You said they had hydrologists there. I don't know. That's hard to measure whether that's a real threat or not. I'm not sure how they're going to resolve that one.
Yeah, I know that they're working on further studies to possibly either rebuttal or expand upon the existing documents that they have there. But we'll stay tuned because, the results of the decision in Canton could affect how this site is developed in Simsbury, because, that could mean that car dealership moves or there's some other use that's in Simsbury that they come back to our commission and propose.
Yeah.
So I would stay tuned to this one because, the results of the Canton's commission's decision will probably dictate the future development of the balance of the site. And it just reminds you is that, we're talking in Canton, I think it's 5 acres. In Simsbury, the balance of the site is 18 acres. So we saw 5,000 square feet of disturbance basically in the application that we reviewed. So we really were a blip on the radar compared to what is being proposed in Canton. Okay. So I'd say stay tuned, and we'll see where this development takes us. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay. So Big Y, obviously, certificate of occupancies have been issued. One thing I will say about the Big Y store, if you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, that's their new model. It was very pleasant. The experience we had with them is just they were top notch when it comes to the construction and just overall communication with the permitting agencies. I will say that Big Y's CO and construction has sparked interest in adjoining properties. So it's kind of what we said would happen is that you build Big Y, your anchor's there, and now people want to start talking about other things. We have not received applications yet to the commissions. We're still, it's really staff discussions that are occurring at this point, but it is a very positive sign that you're seeing interest, and it's kind of what we heard when, and Maria could chime in with this too, is when we did our walk in the North Village or the Hoskins Commercial District, however you want to call it. One thing we heard is how we feel that they were forgotten, and that all of them were like, when is Big Y coming? When is something coming to give kind of a shot to the arm to? We're hoping with this, and then another project that you'll probably see later this spring and early summer is that we'll be installing sidewalks along the western elevation of Hot Meadow Street from Hoskins all the way north to the commuter lot just past Dorset Crossing. So you're going to have, there's a lot of new investment and work that's occurring all in one area, which we're hoping is going to spur sort of either redevelopment, new development, investment, et cetera, of the surrounding area.
It's the store is getting rave reviews. That's all I can say. Everybody thinks it's beautiful and really enjoys shopping there. So it's all good.
So another really positive news is that the Andreo family filed an application back in October with the Zoning Commission for a facade renovation, interior layout change, and a small addition to accommodate a drive-through. The plan up on the right, some may have seen it. I know that it's been on a few real estate listings. That's what the end product will look like. It's a facelift of the existing plaza. with that addition. They're going to be changing some of the tenant layouts. There'll be 2 tenants that will not change. Obviously, the liquor store will remain in its current setup. And then in the rear, Iron Horse Pub and also the recent fitness studio that opened will kind of stay where they are. I'll get to Iron Horse Pub next. In discussions with the property owner, it sounds like he was anticipating starting work on this renovation spring of 2021. So this is a real positive sign. I think it's going to be a fantastic facelift that hopefully will now spark interest in maybe filling some of these spaces in the plaza. So the plaza will not look so tired. And I will say there's been rumors, that there may have some tenant that's getting close to sign or is expressed interest in moving there. So I mean, it's really nice to hear that downtown, one of the most visible properties, one of the properties that my office, this commission, the Board of Selectmen may hear about and say, when will they do something there? Well, we're going to see something, and it's a nice facelift that's going to possibly kind of bring up the area.
Looking at the bottom drawing here, there's a drive-through there, right? That they're going to create.
That's correct.
And I mean, it looks like, right where your arrow is there, and so looks like a drive-through and a window. So you can immediately think of something like a Dunkin' Donuts or something that's a drive-through pickup. Did they do this specifically with something in mind? Did they already have something lined up for that spot, or were they hoping to draw interest?
They're hoping to draw interest.
Okay.
They're hoping that this now brings a user that otherwise would not look at this plaza as a potential location. And remember when the Dunkin' Donuts was there, that was one thing that they've kind of brought time and time again as a concern when they were in downtown, is they don't have a drive-through.
Right. So
I mean, they've heard that before from a similar user. So yeah, you could see a user such as that now say, wow, this plot's got a nice facelift. Look at all the changes that occurred there. If there's other occupancies there, like that green space there, it says professional office, medical office. You get someone filling in that green space, for example, in the back. So right where my cursor is now, I mean, it potentially means that someone else may come join the party there. So, but I think it's like, I can't say how much, it's real positive. And I got a few other positive ones. So,
is that the drive-through where Starbucks is? Is that the end of the building we're talking about?
Yep, right here.
No, Starbucks is down the road.
Yes, you're thinking of Simsbury Town Shops.
Okay,
this will look like an eerily familiar color scheme as
okay, yeah.
So, and then we have the nice facade, the tenant layout changes. Also, Iron Horse Pub will be expanding their outdoor patio area. So with the temporary outdoor dining, Iron Horse Pub was using its 4 parking spaces that are under the roofed section at the rear of the property. This area, has been very successful for Rob. He wanted to do a expansion. So he's planning on basically enclosing it so it has like a 3 seasons sort of use. And they kind of looked at the color scheme, materials that will be used with the planned facade upgrades, and then kind of mirror the two together. So I think it's going to look professional in the back. It's going to look unified with the other improvements. So it's just overall, it's just another sign. Here's more life getting breathed into this plaza, which is very positive, considering we're in the middle of a pandemic and this kind of investment is being made.
Yeah,
so
that's all good news.
That work is also expected to start this spring. So you're going to go from a quiet plaza to a lot of activities all at once at Andy's. And maybe that also will just kind of, draw someone's interest to that area. So, and everyone wants to know, finally, I can say this, that we have someone who has signed a lease, who has filed applications, and is starting to do the work to reopen Gibbs Mobile. That station has been vacant for so long, but they're doing a pretty nice facelift to the station. They're opening it up, so it's nice. They're replacing the tanks that were pulled by the previous tenant. So once again, you look at it, you got Andy's on one corner of the downtown. You got Gibbs Mobile, two that very visible properties that were kind of left in a state of, well, what's going on there? We're going to have reinvestment. The group that is leasing this building, they own and operate gas stations throughout the state of Connecticut. They were emailing me. They were claiming the address down in Fairfield. So, I mean, this is not their first rodeo of picking up a distressed property, giving it a facelift, and getting it back into the market. But I wanted to bring that to the attention because that's one thing that I know the chairman, Bob, you've asked me about it. I think 3 or 4 development updates. And now I finally could tell you some positive news about this property.
No, that's great news because it's, coming from the north, driving south into town, that's one of the first things you see. And it's been an eyesore for a long time. So it's great that someone's going in there. And I think that's great news. Is it going to be a mobile station or is there a different brand?
So I thought it was another mobile station, but they were very cryptic on their building plans. We're waiting on their sign permits as we speak, because obviously they got to tell me who the brand is when they file their sign permits. We thought based on the layout, it looks like the what we're seeing on renovations on mobile, what they're putting in their new stations. But we'll wait until the sign permit comes.
Oh, this is good news.
So I just want to take also a moment. This is other sort of new businesses in the center of town. So Storyteller's Cottage next to Fiddler's Green has closed, and they are opening now. It's going to be a coffee shop that's going in there, the Coffee Spot, which should be open this spring. The Roo is a new Cajun restaurant, and that will be opening in where Sakimura was located at Fiddler's Green. And I think everyone saw that Northwest Community Bank now is open and at the Santander Bank location. So I mean, once again, we're filling in vacancies, or it was a change of operators, but still more investment coming to your downtown, which I think is it's really nice to see all this kind of energy interest being placed in our downtown right now. So,
and one of the things we heard in the roundtables we did, a while back was making the downtown area more quote unquote walkable. The idea of being able to, walk down the street, go to different restaurants, go to different coffee shops, what have you. And with all this stuff going in, that's starting to fill in some of the spaces. And so, to the extent that people are living downtown now and able to walk to all these different restaurants and nice places, it starts to fulfill that request a little bit. So this is all great news.
So my next one, because everyone probably is going to ask this question, what's going on down at Simscroft? So this was a plan that was presented this past fall to the Design Review Board as a preliminary kind of concept layout. The Design Review Board had some comments, so this is changing. I think I said we could say this now. It's Nelson Construction is purchasing the property. They are working on revisions to this layout to address some of the concerns or comments that were given to them by the Design Review Board. Nothing has been approved. However, 2 things. One, the charrette had a vision of a multifamily development there. Two, the property is zoned SC5, which residential uses are the only uses allowed in the SC5 zone. So they're trying to develop something that's permitted under the regulations. This is changing, but this is exciting to know. One, the property's been sold. There is a developer. They are working on something. So there could be, a series of residential units proposed in the downtown, meaning you're increasing the foot traffic in your downtown, which when some of the business owners heard about this, they were excited to hear, you mean I could have 100 apartments downtown, meaning I got a captive audience that may be built right down the road from my restaurant, from my retail store, from my personal service establishment, you name it. So this also is, it's everything's kind of coming together at the same time, which is really exciting. Yep. Please stay tuned on this, because I'm sure, in the upcoming months, we'll start to see this become more of a formal application for the various land use commissions.
Mike, these developers must do a lot of research before they build something like this. They must have a lot of confidence that they can fill this.
So, yeah, they do their market research. And I will say that, what I've been told by everyone who has done the market research is there's still, there's still room for the rental market in the Farmington Valley. One thing, one of the developers has pointed out is that, this is a segment of our housing stock that wasn't fulfilled for a long time. And what you're seeing right now is the market correct itself. For a long time, you didn't see rental units being developed. So now you have just a different mindset of individuals where I don't want to own. I want someone else to deal with the outside. I want someone else to maintain it, but I can't find something here. Or I can't afford to get approved for a loan for a home, but I can afford $2,000 still a month to rent. So this is what you're seeing. Have we hit the saturation point? The developers I've spoken to have said no. It'll be interesting, but this is also a little different conversation on this development, because you're talking about a walkable residential development in a vibrant town center. I mean, tell me a similar development you can find. I mean, the closest thing you could say would be maybe, although this is very urban to compare it to, would be Blueback Square. But that was, that's a little different. We're talking on the setup. So I think it's like I said, it's another positive sign. So I guess my theme today is be happy. No, because I have a positive message to tell you. That there's investment, there's interest. I have a few projects I can't speak of during this presentation. However, I will say that staff is meeting with developers on other redevelopment or development projects. Just haven't crossed my commission's agendas yet, which is like I said, it's very exciting to be in this time right now. The fact that we have so much interest in Simsbury by various parties, which everyone here should be proud of, because I mean it speaks to. So I'm going to compare. This is where now we're going to have a little discussion about. So how is COVID affected building? Last time I gave you an update was back in June. If you actually compare now fiscal years, so that'll be July 1 to June 30th. Our current fiscal year 2021, we have collected $819,051.56. Compared to last year, we've already exceeded last year's totals. That $1,278,000 that you see under 1819, that was the highest year since 2000. So That was an oddball year, but yet look, here's a year that we have had a pandemic, yet I will tell you that the investment there was a few large projects that probably should have been accredited to 1920 they paid their permits, and one of them, for example, was Mclean's. The other was a square up on some fees with Big Y. that are accredited to 2021. However, we're still seeing one thing we're seeing a lot of is residential investment, which is awesome because now you have a housing stock that people are putting that extra money into. They're maintaining it, which sends a real positive message. Jackie probably could speak to how busy the real estate market is here, because that also triggers our building permits. But I mean, this, like I said, I'm trying to give the positive, happy face today. And I think this is a great example of just everything else I showed you. If you only took one thing out of it beyond the development, this chart is it's fantastic.
Yep. In any sense, Mike,
question on the Gibbs property, is any thought gone into coexisting with the music venue at the end of the field there? They're so close.
Well, I mean, that's something that they will have to take into consideration as they're developing their interior, obviously, right, their interior floor plans, et cetera. I will say, what Nelson Construction did over at Highcroft, the soundproofing, how you can't hear from unit to unit. I'm sure that they could, any sort of nuisance issues they can address in their sort of building layouts. Is that the question?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an issue if it's not thought about up front.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Mike, this is a year-to-date number. Do you have a sense of what the, come July 1st of 21, what that number might be?
That's that's the $1 million question. One thing we're trying to struggle with, I mean, this chart is actually missing December. I didn't have the December totals when I prepared this slide. I have the December totals now, and we're around 850. So we went up another 40,000. Let's just say we continue on a 40,000. You can plug in that, and that's probably where we're going to end up. We're going to be close to 1819.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, 1819 is the oddball year. That's the year that we cast a check for the solar project.
Oh, that
really put us over on that year. That was Maria. Do you remember what they paid in building fees? Was it 710,000? That's
I can't recall off the top of my head, but it was a very large sum.
I just remember taking a picture and sending it to you and going like, "Can you believe me? I'm holding this check right now." Like, I mean, but that's an oddball year. I mean, we really should not compare to 1819, but still, 2021. We're plugging along, and we're seeing, like I said, a lot of positive investment, and this is fantastic. I think that I think there's a lot of communities that are very envious of us and the interest and investment that we're seeing.
When you hear what's going on across the state, and then to look see what's going on here, it's much different story. I mean, we should be very proud and pleased with what's going on here. It sounds like it's all good news. So terrific job. Hats off to you.
Thank you. Well, thanks to this commission for being supportive of a lot of our efforts, because you could see the fruits of our labor.
Absolutely. Great. Bob, if I could just add a couple of quick points just to piggyback on what Mike was saying in terms of the level of investment we're seeing here. That's just so phenomenal. We had participated, Melissa, our finance director, myself, in a bond rating call just about a year ago. We have another one coming up actually this week. And the staff from the bond rating agency said they are just not seeing this kind of development in Connecticut outside of Fairfield County. And they were really amazed at the level of development and interest we had here in the community. And similarly, as we were, preparing for our upcoming bond rating call, our new growth for, the most recent, fiscal year was just phenomenal. It was around 2.5%. A lot of our counterparts in the Farmington Valley for the current year saw maybe, if they were lucky, about 0.5%. I think one community was closer to 0.9%, but many were relatively flat in terms of new growth. So, again, I think there's just some really also good kind of positive indicators we're seeing about the interest and level of interest that folks have here, which is terrific.
And Mike, Peter here. As a question, I can remember back when I first moved into town, there was a cadre of people that were very disturbed that all this development was changing the rural character of Simsbury. And have we gotten any, I'll say it, negative or comments from anybody in the town? And is that something that we may want to try to address if we need to reiterate the benefits of development?
Well, I mean, I think some of our land use commissioners could probably speak to maybe the comments they heard as they were running for office. I know that some members, I've heard anecdote from some people in town. They look at the SL Simsbury development on 200 Hot Meadow and say that's a lot of building really close to the road. And they feel that, that really has changed the character of the area. So, I mean, have we heard some negativity? Yes. Is it the same that you're referring to back in 2007? Not to that extent, but there are some people that are concerned with the balance between preservation and development. But that's also, between Bill Rice's commission at the planning commission level on the POCD, and then also the zoning commission. That's their role to find a balance between the two. And also, it's their role to, when you hear these sort of consistent complaints, then maybe it's time to look back and reflect on what has happened. I know the Planning Commission does this when we update our plan of conservation development. We look at, what occurred since our last update. What's the world we live in? What's the feelings of the community on its whole? Meaning, where do we want to see development, but what do we want to preserve? So, does that help you, Peter?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Peter. I think it's really important that someone looks at that's keeping track of all that's going on the planning and zoning side, and at least thinking about the character of the town and how these projects might change it. I think what's nice about the projects that you're listing, Mike, is that they're improving the areas that they're building in. Certainly the Simcroft area and Big Y, and obviously the gas station. So I think they're improving the areas that they're building on.
Yeah, I mean, those were areas that were ripe for development, and those were areas that needed development. And so now that we're getting it, I think it's extremely positive. And Peter, I think to your point, yes, I hear the same things. And to Mike's point, just obviously that's what the different commissions are in place to do, is to find that balance. What I've learned in this job and sitting in on some of these meetings, I was, with liaison to the design review board, that, the people on these boards obviously take their jobs, and Bill Rice is on the call, can talk to this. One, they're very professional. And number two, they take their jobs very seriously. And I think the one issue that they're all struggling with is to find that balance. And as I sit through the design review boards and people come forward with plans, boy, they're all over it about how does it fit in with the other buildings that are in the area? How does it look to maintain the look and feel of downtown Simsbury that we all appreciate and we all like and want to preserve? I think that issue is in the back of their minds about how do we kind of, maintain everything that we like and continue to strike that balance between, growing the town and at the same time trying to maintain that rural charm that, makes it a nice Connecticut community.
Yeah, Bob, let me just make a comment. I've been in town for a long time, and what was the accepted norm back then is way different than what we're hearing now. I have to be very careful, on the planning commission to look at everything that's presented to us and not taint it with my personal, preferences. I'm starting to realize that what I thought people wanted Simsbury to be 20 years ago is not at least what some people are saying now. I really sense a change in what is expected. Now, I don't know if that's a majority feeling or minority feeling or what, but certainly the voices are there. But
there is a vocal group that is more concerned with, or I should say, less concerned with the current character of the town than with affordable housing coming into town. And you know what you're saying, Bill. I don't know how big a percentage of the town that is, but they certainly are vocal.
Yeah. And then earlier there was, I don't know if it was Peter or somebody made asked a question about, do we still hear the negative comments about the development that's going on in town? Personally, I do not. And I think that's part of the change.
In a good way.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on what you think is right, and I think the era of 3,500, 4,000 square foot homes is gone.
Yeah. And, and the constant struggle between, maintaining the quality of the life that we have here with our education and the, all that the town has to offer, balance that with, with taxes and the affordability. At the chamber meeting a couple of weeks ago, the biggest issue coming up was, the impact of property taxes. This for the new year coming up. Everyone wanted to see either flat or no increase to taxes because the businesses here are really struggling. And so, at the same time, well, how do you do that? Well, if we're not developing, if we're not adding new stores, if we're not adding these things, that puts huge pressure on the taxes. So the fact that we got all this development going on, that really helps us in that regard too. So there's a lot of different factors here, but I think it's all very positive. I think it's all very, very positive. So.
And Mike, if I could just ask a question, when you were talking about the Simscroft Echo Farms location, you had referred to Blueback Square, which I thought was a really interesting property to bring up. And I just wanted some clarification. Are you thinking they're going to look towards restaurants and retail to add to that property?
No, at the SC5 zoning district only permits residential developments.
Okay.
So no, I just meant by a multifamily development in a town center. The only thing you can compare it to in the area of that size really is Blueback Square.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really, really interesting addition because if they're not going to be including those types of businesses in the retail area, then it motivates all of the people living there to shop outside, their immediate area. And I think it would be a huge boost for the local restaurants and retail.
Everything would be walkable, which would be really nice.
Yep.
Be really nice. So,
yeah, it's an exciting one.
Regarding, this is a lot, all this housing is much higher density. We've got a number of these projects. How is that impacting our infrastructure, particularly in the schools? There hasn't really been much growth in the size of the schools that we've had in town, and certainly adding the ability for a lot of families to come in here. Is there, Tecton is working on a long-term plan. Is that going to be pushed up so that'll be more classroom space added? Do we have any idea on that yet?
Yeah. So, folks who are interested in that, I would definitely encourage them to check out our upcoming budget workshops on capital. There'll be a lot of discussion around some of the school needs as well as the town needs. We recently are partaking in a facilities master planning effort as well. But with the schools, the two particular elementary schools that have really seen the largest pressure in terms of more students are Latimer and Squadron. And so Latimer also very, very much needs a renovation. That building, it's long overdue for a renovation. So what the school has been talking about is, a full-scale renovation of Latimer, potentially moving sixth graders to Henry James. to free up some capacity within the elementary school buildings throughout town. So again, I think there'll be a lot more conversation around that. And that's another area where Simsbury is not going along with trend in Connecticut. Many towns and school districts in Connecticut have just been hemorrhaging student enrollment for a very long time, but we're not seeing that. In fact, we've been seeing our numbers, being stable or even increasing at times. So another, we've got people moving here and people moving here with families. So it's good. It's good to see.
Yeah, there's a long lead time, and that's why I was just thinking about it. It takes a while to get school program going, and it's like 5 or 6 years from when you think about it, so you actually you can open the doors to the classrooms. So if they're building a lot of high density residential units, there'll be people here soon.
Okay, just a real quick point, Maria. You mentioned to me earlier that we need to be done by 6:45.
Yes. So due to some of our scheduling constraints with SCTV and another group needs to use this channel after us, I think Mike, it was 6:45, 6:50-ish, right? That'll.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a ZBA meeting after you.
Okay. So with that, why don't we move along the next part of the agenda? Quick report from the Main Street Partnership. I got an email from Sarah. I assume we all got copied on it. She wasn't able to attend tonight's meeting, but we've all been receiving regular updates from her on the COVID-related programs, funding rules, et cetera. And the business updates from Melissa Brett, which I find very helpful on updates, closing, and happenings. And she's going to continue to work with several property owners on new plans, but nothing that she could speak about publicly yet. So that was her update. Morgan, quick update from the chamber.
Sure, thank you. First of all, Mike, I just have to thank you on that presentation. It was absolutely fantastic, really exciting, informative, and I think it just puts such a positive spin on what we have to look forward to. Everyone's been through such a rough year, and to see a presentation like that and how hopeful it is and optimistic, people are just going to be thrilled, the more we can get the information out there. So the chamber is very, very active still. And I'm down a marketing person. So right now it's just me and 2 interns in the office. So the hours are pretty crazy right now, but we're doing a lot for our members. And we're seeing an influx in membership already in the beginning of this year. So we have quite a few members that have joined in January, and then a lot of renewals. So people that were due for renewal back in, April, May, June, that were not able to renew within 2020 are now coming back and choosing to renew, and we're restarting their memberships because obviously we're understanding and empathetic about what all of these businesses have been going through. So we have not been quick to drop members at all. We've continued to support them even though they have not paid their dues on time, and now they're able to do so. We also have several programs that we're putting them on, whether it's quarterly payments to break up those renewals or just restarting them all together. Any way we can help them and stay engaged in the chamber and maintain an active membership, we're doing anything we possibly can to help them. Some of the industries that we're seeing a lot of in terms of engagement in the chamber right now are business consulting. So a lot of business consulting companies coming to the chamber, looking to connect with everyone, and a lot of remote businesses. So people that have moved from the city, a lot of New York, people that have relocated, and they're working remotely. They're looking to get engaged with the community, get to know people on a personal level, build up friends and a real sense of neighborhood like they had probably had previously, and then their business connections. So we're able to provide them with a lot of things like that. Let's see. In terms of our other businesses, we are seeing the restaurants continue to struggle. We're trying to stay in as much communication as possible with them. A lot of restaurants are taking some time off, especially in February, so that they can reduce overhead and not have to, pay too much to employees, and then they'll be able to pick things back up when the warmer weather hits. We're also seeing a lot of restaurants with reduced schedules throughout the week, but those that have chosen to stay open are really doing well in picking up the delivery piece of the restaurant business. So those that were not traditional delivery restaurants and really didn't focus on takeout have shifted gears and now are participating in DoorDash and a bunch of other businesses, so that they can continue to be, in the community and continue to be visible and relevant to the people that have used those restaurants for so long. So that's a positive thing. We've all had to be resilient and to figure out new ways of doing business. So we are seeing the restaurants continue to go ahead and do that. In addition to takeout and delivery, we've seen Millwrights and other restaurants like that with the igloos. So the outdoor dining options. So it's been fantastic to see them stay creative and just plug through. Fingers crossed, spring will be here before we know it, and they'll have many more options available to them. We'll all be outdoor dining before you know it. We have a lot of events coming up. So in addition to the normal virtual networking that we have going on, we have added a lot of informational type events. So Mike's presentation, I'm sure it will be a similar one, if not the exact one that he'll be using for the presentation that he'll be doing for the residents and the local businesses, Simsbury Development Update, which will be February 26th from, let's see, I've got my times for two events mixed up. February 26th from 8 to 9:30. So we'll be going through that presentation. And I think, just like we've all experienced it on this call, people are going to be so excited to hear this information. We'll make sure not to have, you inundated with questions. I'll try to collect those ahead of time for you, so you're not going to be swamped and on the call till 10. But very excited about that. Then we also have the Chamber Scholarship Fund, which is kind of launching right now. So last year we were able to give out, I think it was $3,500 in scholarships to local students. So we've started the fundraising process again, and we have a virtual scholarship party that's going to be going on February 16th from 5 to 7. So this is going to be a virtual event, and we'll have a mixology lesson from Queenie's Cocktail Bar. We're going to have a cooking demo from Chris Prosperi with Metro B. And then we're also going to have a whiskey wine tasting talk with Jim from West Street Wines and Liquors. Yeah. So very excited for that. And again, it's just a fundraiser for the scholarship fund. So anybody that wants to participate in that, all of the money that we, the proceeds that we collect goes straight to the local students that apply.
Thanks, Morgan. Is Sherm on the call? I didn't see him or any updates from him, Maria?
No, I don't see him, but we can definitely send an email if he has any updates.
Okay, very good. All right. So EDC work plan updates. Quick update, Tom, on the business incentive policy, or Maria, has that been presented to the Board of Selectmen?
Yeah, I think the Board of Selectmen suggested a couple of additions or changes or clarifications, and we made those. Certainly Maria helped us do that. And then I think the next step is just to go back to the Board of Selectmen. Not sure when that is, whether it's February or the next meeting, and get their final approval. I think that's right, Maria.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I think, it's a really good place now. I really appreciate the work team's help in making those final edits. Our town attorney had a chance to review the edits and was comfortable with them. So our hope is to put it on the Board of Selectmen's next agenda for final review and consideration. And that meeting is on February 8th.
Good. And Maria, do we have an update on the marketing? Is that contract been signed?
Not yet. And I don't know, Charmaine, feel free if you'd like to jump in. We had a really good planning meeting with myself and Melissa, our IT manager, Charmaine, Brooke, and Sarah from the Main Street Partnership. And I think we did a good job of making sure that, we're again, really refining the scope of services that we're looking for and the outcomes that we hope to achieve from it. So we had sent some potential edits back to the marketing firm. I'm hoping to hear back soon. I know they're still working on the review of that, but I think we're getting very close to having a final contract, which is really exciting. And I don't know, Charmaine, if you have anything else you might like to add.
No, I completely agree. The document that, from our long conversation, all the edits that made and everything look really good. And I have total faith in Dornberg. I mean, plus he's from Simsbury and he's a true professional. So I think it's all laid out really well. And I would expect it to just be approved. But I guess we'll have to wait until after February 8th.
And Melissa, was there anything you wanted to add on the communications piece or any of the IT work?
No, nothing in particular. I think we're in a really good place in terms of, getting clarification about, really using the Refresh brand strategically, and how, the contract really outlines that that's really the goal for at least the town size, to be able to say, to know how to use the brand more effectively. So I think that's a big piece of it that'll be really exciting for, from the town side.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Peter, updates on co-working space?
Well, actually, I don't have any. I've been a bad person and not done a lot of work, but I'm thinking that
you've been doing a lot of work, not necessarily on that particular topic.
Yeah, but with all the stuff that Mike has said and Morgan just gave to us, I think that I'm going to have to get back up to speed and reach out to the different landlords in the area to see if we can get something started that's not a lot of doesn't take a lot of SG&A expense and time, but just get to see who out there is interested in getting out of their houses and into something else. So I'll keep working on that.
Okay, very good. When we, the government affairs meeting at the chamber a couple of weeks back, this was actually a very hot topic. And Morgan, you just made a comment about consultants moving in to town and looking for space. And there are vacancies, and with a lot of property managers mentioned it, given the impact of COVID, they've had people leave, walk out so there is space available. So there's an opportunity on both sides, to the extent we can start bringing those two together would be terrific. So
yeah,
I think it's a very, very exciting opportunity.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add really quickly to that update. And Peter, I've been meaning to connect with you on the whole project. So I have been definitely brainstorming with other local organizations. Simsbury Main Street's one of them, but also talking to these property owners, and they really are struggling. They have a lot of space available. They're getting pretty worried because they're trying to fill it. And we have a lot of people relocating to the area. As I mentioned before, we are really receiving a lot of inquiries at the chamber office about available space, and then I refer them out. But I really think we need to move and not worry about the organizational side of it as much, but move on just having a centralized location online where property owners can post what's available so that people looking for space can go ahead and search that. So whether there's flexible lease terms on there, maybe even just floor plans, and just have it as a searchable website where people can go ahead and find the information that they're looking for. That way, it's nothing that the chamber or another organization has to necessarily manage, but we can get the information out there to those that are looking for it immediately. Because right now, the way that I'm handling it is people are calling me, they're asking, if we know of any vacancies, and I give them a list of property owner numbers. But, it would be nice if we could kind of tailor fit their search. So I had spoken to Sarah with Simsbury Main Street, and she had mentioned that she thought a website would be the easiest way to just get it up and launched. And I think it's a fantastic idea, and it would be the easiest way to get the information out there for people to utilize.
That being the case, Maureen, why don't I reach out to you, get those numbers, because the building of the website is something that I've been teaching myself how to do, minding the back-end database and doing the full stack web development. And this, I think I could do something very simple quickly.
Perfect. We'll have a project for you.
Okay. We'll continue. I'm thinking that if we spend too much time thinking about it, as opposed to just put something out there,
yes,
it won't be as productive as if we just get something out there and then have people complain and then we correct
And then work out the kinks.
adjust and adapt as we get that input.
I agree.
Until there is a website created, I just want to let you guys know that on Facebook, on the Simsbury, Connecticut page, there is already a list of landlords who have put their space up there, how much space they have. So that's a place to start.
Perfect.
What's that site, the Facebook page again,
Yep,
Jackie?
go to Simsbury, Connecticut on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a whole list, and you'll be able to see all the landlords that have already offered space and they have space. So until we have a website, there is a central location right now.
Great.
Jackie, aren't there some commercial listings that are free to people looking and it's paid for by the people listing that might be available? I'm trying to think of it. I know I've had properties in some of them. Think of the name.
That's the best place because anybody can look at it. There are commercial websites, but they're a little bit more cumbersome if you're not aware of commercial properties and how they're listed. Is that what you mean? Like a CoStar or Netloo?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, a CoStar. But that's free to people that are looking for listings, right? They can get on. It's if you want to post a property, you have to pay for it.
Yeah, exactly. And some of these are smaller spaces. And this page right now that's going on, they were available, and two, they were here right in town.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, that's a great place to start, but I'm definitely thinking we should have an individual website with the ability for people to search for exactly what they're looking for. And I've come to realize not everyone has Facebook, which still shocks me in today's day and age. But we've had people asking, how to register things or how to find information. When I tell them it's just on Facebook, they get irritated that I should have known better. So I will definitely go on that Facebook page and look at the information. And it's a perfect starting point for developing this website. Thank you.
Yeah, the Facebook is, I found to be something that I don't do it anymore, and my clients don't want anything to do with it for a variety of different reasons. And I'm not going to make a judgment one way or the other, but I think that I'll get back on and I'll learn what I can do. And Morgan, hopefully I'll work with you and try to get something up.
If I can add, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey, it's Charmaine. I can know from being that I do advertising for a living and place digital media as well as all types of media. I know for a fact that in Simsbury, in our 4 zip codes of people that are over 21, there's only about, at least of registered voters. So, but we have a lot of registered voters. I know this from political campaigns. There's only about 10,000 people that are on Facebook. So you're missing a really big part of the population of Simsbury. We're close to 25,000 people. Granted, there's children and everything, but you're missing a whole bunch of adults if you're only on Facebook. I just know that from digital advertising. So anyway.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Okay. Thanks, Charmaine. Okay, business outreach. 2 things. One, I need to reach out to Tom Fitzgerald. Maria or Melissa, do we have any updates on scheduling our next appointment? We were trying to do one in January, one in February, one every month, and the new year coming around. Do we have anything scheduled at the moment?
Yeah, so we'll do some more, more follow up on that with the handful of folks we still wanted to get to. I know February is actually most of January is a really hard months, I should say, for both Melissa and I with budget. But I will follow up with Tom and check on the status and get back to you. Yeah.
And he mentioned Micro Semi was one that we were having a hard time reaching out to.
I believe so. Making a connection with.
Anybody on this call have a contact there that can help us make a connection?
No.
You do or you don't? Okay. All right. Well, I will continue to work on that. And I think there was one other, but I'll get with Tom on that. The other piece was Morgan and I talked about having the government affairs meeting at the chamber once a quarter be an opportunity for us on the EDC to do a roundtable where we would reach out to various businesses. The initial thought is to do it by area of the town, do one with the north end of the businesses and one with the south end of the businesses, and then maybe one with just a downtown area on 3 different time frames, do it once a quarter, and conduct a Q&A with them about doing business in Simsbury and what they like, what they don't like, what are the things we need to be focusing on here in town. So we're going to continue to work on that and work up that final agenda and formalize that. But I think we'll probably do our first one sometime in the March, April timeframe, given everything else that's going on right now. So those are the updates with that. Morgan, any other comment on that?
No, I think you did a great job explaining.
Okay, good. Thanks. So in the short time we have left, Ron, any updates from the Zoning Commission?
Nope, they're plugging away. Permits as they're coming through, and they're continuing on rewriting the zoning regulations. I think they're getting pretty close to finalizing some of that, but nothing too major that's been going on there.
Okay. Lori, any comments from the Design Review Board?
For the Design Review Board, Mike covered what was going on with Iron Horse and their enclosed area. And then the only other design review aspect was French Quarter lamps that were going to go outside of the Rue restaurant. So very old vintage kind of gas lamp looking pieces that are styled like the French Quarter that will go outside Fiddler's Green. Outside the Rue restaurant.
Oh, nice. That'd be nice.
Things. Yeah, they're beautiful.
Good. Quick update on sustainability. As many of you may know, we were selected to be at the silver level of qualification across the state, which is the highest level you can achieve. There's only a handful of towns that achieve that level. And so we continue to refresh our responses. Will continue to update and continue to maintain the silver level. And if you ever come up with a goal, we'll work towards that. They have added some new elements this year, and one of them that's getting a lot of attention is around housing. In particular, the focus is on what are we doing as a town to address the issue of homelessness, but also what are we doing around affordable housing. So I sent everybody out a notice about discussion on February 4th that Maria, I believe you and Bill Rice will be participating in with Eric and some outside speakers to talk about affordable housing or just housing in general for the town. If anybody would like to sign up for that, feel free to do so. I'm looking forward to it. Lori was kind enough to figure out how to get in and register, so I sent that out to everybody. So we're looking forward to that particular session, but it's got a lot of work to do in that particular area. Are you aware of that meeting, Maria? You got a look on your face like.
Yeah, I'm actually not a panelist, but I am aware of the meeting. But we do have some great panelists. Bill Rice actually is going to be a panelist. Eric Wellman, Sean Askham. We have a number of other folks. So I think it'll be a very good conversation that evening.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Okay. Development projects. Anything going on? Any update from anybody on that one? Okay, with that, you all had a chance to review the minutes from November 18th meeting. I've reviewed it. I don't have any comments. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion approved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor to approve?
Aye.
Okay, Melissa, great job. They're all approved. With that, it's 6:47, and I think we're right on time. Any other questions, comments before we adjourn? Well, thank you all. Appreciate your time this evening, and